It was a lovely morning several years ago. And I was dropping my mom off at the White Rock Museum where she was a volunteer. And as I was dropping her off, she turned to me and she said, "Rona, I'm a little worried about Tracy because she went out before we left, and normally by the time we leave to come to the museum, she's back, and she's not home yet. I'm a little concerned." And what does loving Rona say? "Mom, you always worry too much. Stop worrying. You always worry so much." And she said, "Yeah, I know, but this is a break in pattern, and it's bothering me." Rona's response, "Mom, you're going to be late. She'll be fine." My mom gets out of the car, looking a little sad, and goes for her shift. And my sister was fine. But I drove away with that picture of my mom's face in my mind and thinking, what just happened? What did I just do to break a precious connection? And I realized that what I had done was to diminish the feelings of someone who was very important to me. It wasn't loving, it wasn't connecting, and it was very human. Haven't we all done something similar at times? Somebody says something and we think, don't worry about it. Well, telling somebody not to worry about something is like telling somebody not to think about an elephant. What is the first thing they're going to do? Think about the elephant. So there was this real feeling of a sense that I had missed the mark in my goal of wanting to be a loving presence in the world. My mission in life is to fill the world with love every day. And here I was, blowing it. And it was a wonderful gift because it shed light on a habit that I have that I know I'm not alone in and that I am still working to change. But how do we change? First, let's go back a little to what is my goal in this? I left there thinking I was doing the right thing, telling my mom not to worry. The person I care about, I'm trying to soothe her. But how do you think my mom felt? I know how she felt because I've been on the receiving end of that kind of loving, you don't have to worry. And it normally either hurts or wants me to say words that you can't say in church. So I hear over here. Even more concerning is not just that I hurt the relationship in the moment, but also how likely do you think it would be for her to come and express another concern to me in the future when the reaction that I was likely to give her is dismissive. What is our goal? Surely our goal when we are in relationship with someone is to have a relationship that is open, where a person can come to you and say what they're thinking, say what they're experiencing, and have you, a non-judgmental presence, saying, I understand. Jesus' teaching, which is so often found in other religions too, of the golden rule, is the guideline that we can use. Whenever we find ourselves about to trip into the don't worry mode. Because what does Jesus say? Do unto others as you would have them do to you. I mentioned that I'm still working on it. And I'd like you to consider, each of you, whether or not you have that same experience with your relationships. It may be relationships with parents or with a partner, or with a coworker, with friends, that we do these things that feel like we're about to ease somebody's burden, so we tell them not to worry. Or we explain things. More on that in a moment. The problem is, of course, that we're breaking a connection. Because what we're doing is saying it is not safe for you to tell me what you're experiencing. And the more I do work as a minister, as a teacher, the more I realize that the most important aspect of a relationship, if we want a person to grow and to thrive, the most important part of a relationship is to establish physical and emotional safety. As soon as we start to name and shame and blame, we cut the possibility that we're going to have a genuine, heart-opening, heart-warming, heartfelt relationship. I see little ones here today, and I watch my 2.5-year-old granddaughter. She knows that she is safe. She knows that she is loved. And she is one of the happiest little people I have ever met. I think that's all of our birthright, even as adults, that we can be in this place that feels safe and accepted, which makes us feel happy. There was a famous set of experiments done by psychologist Harry Harlow. It was done in the 50s all the way through to the 70s. And what he did was he took, now just so you know, this would not be okay today, would be considered unethical. He took baby monkeys away from their mums, and then he, in the lab, created a wire monkey on one side that had food, and a blanket covered monkey, soft, on the other side that only had water. What did the monkeys do? They spent all their time with the comfortable side, and they would run to the other side to get nutrition occasionally, as little as they could, and then immediately go back to the cloth-covered monkey. What does that say for us? Well, we humans aren't really all that different from our primate relatives. We crave connection and comfort and safety at a level that we don't even understand. But to the point that we would give up food at times to crave comfort. So, safety, comfort, acceptance, these must be our goal. How do we do it? I'm going to give you 4 letters. L-O-V-E. Go figure. The first thing I'd like you to consider is to listen. Listen, like really listen. In the story that I'm telling you about my mom, I heard the words she was saying, but I was not listening. The listening isn't just about the words, but it's about the feeling behind the words, and I was not doing that. My grandmother used to say, "You have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason." I'm still learning this. Ask my husband. Can we be in a place where somebody says something and we can take it in and we can not just respond? Or worse, wait for a place where we're waiting for the pause so that we can say what we think? Can we just listen? Not just for the words, but also for the underlying passion and concern that might be behind the words. It can be a superpower to just listen. And there are times when you may do nothing but listen. You may say 1 or 2 words, and then the other person says at the end of it, "Thank you for the talk." And in your mind, you're going, that was not a talk. But sometimes it's exactly what a person needs, is a listening ear. So listen. And then be open. The great psychologist, I'm trying to think of his first name now, it's drawing a blank, John Gottman, Dr. John Gottman from Seattle, who's kind of the world leader in relationship stuff, where he's had a little love lab up, like an actual apartment in Seattle where people stay for a weekend, and then they are wired for different things like heart rate and sweat and so on. And they're actually filmed from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And over the course of 20, now probably 30 years, he's observed couples. And what he observed is that if a relationship starts where a complaint starts and it has a harsh startup, you always, why don't you? Then the likelihood of that discussion ending well, this you don't need a researcher to tell you, it ain't going to work. And yet we do it all the time, where we just flare up and say something and it doesn't work. What if instead we could be genuinely curious? Be open. Tell me more. I see that this happened. Tell me what you're thinking about that. Help me get what this feels like for you. Be open. It prevents all of that immediate need to be right, that immediate judgment, that immediate wanting to smooth things over because, Mom, you're going to be late. Open. More curious, which leads to more safety, which leads to more love. And then V. And I wrote validate, and as I was doing this preparation last night, what came to me also was value. So validate their value, so we can get that word value in there. And what do I mean by that? I mean that there is nothing so comforting, other than a warm blanket physically, as an emotional warm blanket when somebody is experiencing some kind of a distress. There's nothing so comforting as, oh, I can understand how you'd feel that way. You're not necessarily agreeing with how they're feeling. You're not agreeing with their response. You may not have the same response as they had, but you can understand how they might see it that way. And as soon as you do that, the tension leaves. The other part about validating is it helps a person to feel valued. And surely all of us long for that feeling. If you must speak then, if you're listening and you're open and you're feeling that now is an appropriate time to speak, then some of the words that you might use are things like, oh, that's horrible. Or, fair. This is sort of the newer way the kids are speaking. Is somebody says something and it's a difference of opinion, and they'll go, fair. What's it mean? It means I'll let you have space for that idea too. Yay! I'm reminded as I'm standing here of a ketchup bottle. And if I were to hold up a ketchup bottle from my point of view, I would see Heinz 57 or whatever. And if I were to describe it, that's what I would describe. But if I were to ask you to describe it from your point of view, you would say, oh, it's mainly white with a whole bunch of little words and it's all the ingredients on that side. Who's right? We both are. Because none of us are going to have the same point of view. By definition, none of us can have the same point of view. So see what you can do to expand your validation of somebody else's point of view. It's amazing how much it calms things down. It also lets a person know that even if you see things differently, that you value their feelings and their experience. And finally, empathize. If I were to ask you to leave with one thing today, it would be the idea of empathy first, everything else second. What do I mean by empathy? Well, Alfred Adler wrote that empathy is the seeing with the eyes of another, listening with the eyes of another, ears of another, and feeling with the heart of another. Seeing with the eyes of another, listening with the ears of another, feeling with the heart of another. For me, what it means is identifying with the feeling, even if I don't agree that the person should be having that feeling, identifying with the feeling, and then touching that experience of that same feeling within me, knowing that there is no feeling on this planet that you have had that I haven't already had too. And then finding that connection and walking beside the person, treating them as you would have wanted them to treat you. My mom was worried. I was not. But I have been worried at other times in my life. So I know what that feels like. It's not pleasant. So be able to touch my experience of worry, connect it to her experience of worry and say, oh, that's horrible. What can we do about that? Is so much nicer than you don't have to worry. Empathy, identify with the feeling, find it in yourself, and use it as the bridge between the two of you to connect. And here's what empathy does not look like then. Somebody is hurting, and you say things like, at least. You hurt your hand? Well, at least you have this hand. You didn't, you fell on the ice at the Olympics? Well, at least there's another time. And every other at least you can imagine. Yeah, of course that's all true. But right in the moment, is that what the person who is hurting needs to hear? Hells no. What they need to hear is, how horrible for you. All that other stuff comes after the connection. Connection first, correction later. What else? Here's another one that we use. Time heals all wounds. It's God's plan. So many of them. And the one that is most popular for me is the wife-splaining. You're laughing because you know what I mean. And if you are male, then it's the mansplaining. And if you're not married, then it's the women's-splaining. And it's the, let me give you the benefit of my wisdom about why you should not be feeling this way. Why? They're feeling that way. We don't need to take that away from them. It's their feeling. We don't have to agree. We just need to be like, oh, okay, that's really upsetting for you. Think, if you can, person having an opinion, as opposed to, I need to educate them to change their mind. It's so dismissive. So, everything I'm saying to you, though, I'm talking about out here, talking about relationships. Please know that these same things apply to the voices within you. So there will be a part of you that may be feeling hurt and lonely right now. Take the time to listen to it. Take the time to be open to hearing what that voice might be saying. Instead of, oh, I'm a spiritual person, I should never feel sad, validate that you're a human being and at times you will feel sad and other times you won't. It's okay. And then empathize with that part. It is in this way that we create the most powerful, loving, joyful relationships. Love is all we need. Listen. Be open. Validate. Value them. And empathize. I love you. Bless you. Hello. Oh, thank you. I got a Valentine. It says, you make my heart smile. Right back at you. Thank you. That was from Celeste. Thank you, Celeste.